Now, I want to start by throwing a question your way, and I really want you to think about this for a second. Can a single thought actually change your immune system? See, a lot of times we kind of box gratitude into this woo-woo, purely positive thinking category, right? We think of it as a nice thing to do, maybe a polite habit, but definitely not something with real biological teeth. But guess what? The science completely shatters that assumption. Our thoughts, and specifically the disciplined practice of gratitude, have a profound, measurable impact on our actual biology.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. In this one fascinating study, they asked people to practice feeling genuine gratitude for just 15 minutes, 3 times a day. And after just 4 days, their levels of immunoglobulin A, which, by the way, is essentially your body's primary defense against viruses, like your own internal flu shot, it shot up by a massive 50%. Just let that sink in. A 50% increase in 4 days. No extra supplements, no medications. That chemistry is being manufactured purely from within, triggered entirely by just the conscious practice of gratitude. Crazy, right?
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll hit the biology of gratitude. Second, finding light in the dark. Third, the discipline of gratitude. Fourth, shifting your perspective. And finally, we'll wrap up with the daily gratitude playbook. All right, starting with Section 1, the biology of gratitude and how it rewires the brain.
Think of gratitude as basically the ultimate lubricant for the brain. When you express genuine gratitude, your brain actively engages the regions associated with moral cognition and value judgment. But here's the really cool part. It triggers the release of dopamine and serotonin. You know, those crucial neurotransmitters that just make you feel good? Well, they also make your mind way more agile, flexible, and adaptive. So essentially, practicing gratitude is actively making you sharper and much more capable of handling complex challenges.
And those neurological actions map directly to actual physical results. So when gratitude activates your prefrontal cortex, your critical thinking and decision-making totally improve. And remember, the quality of your life basically comes down to the quality of your decisions. Also, when gratitude modifies the fear and defense networks in your brain, you actually build up resilience to past trauma and kind of inoculate yourself against future trauma. And what about that release of serotonin we talked about? That leads directly to lower blood pressure and significantly better, deeper sleep. It's just an absolutely incredible biological tool.
Let's move to Section 2, finding light in the dark, especially in difficult moments.
Consider this incredibly stark, very real story of a man having lunch with a friend during a particularly dark season of his life. Because look, it's super easy to be grateful when you're winning, right? But what about when you're losing? This guy had lost his practice, his health, his relationships, and his friend looks at him across the table and asks, honestly right now, what are you grateful for? And the man replied with this, jack shit nothing, brother. There's nothing good in my life right now. He was just entirely consumed by his lack.
But you know, the universe has a funny way of delivering a reality check. Just as he mouthed those bitter words, 2 strangers walked into the restaurant. They were both clearly battling severe cancer. They were weak, wearing bonnets, barely even able to move. Yet, as they walked past the table, they stopped and gave this man the warmest, most genuine smile and greeting. His friend just looked at him and said, "That's pretty frickin' pathetic. You can't find anything in your life to be grateful for right now." And wow, what a jarring wake-up call. I mean, if people fighting for their very lives can find the warmth to smile at a total stranger, we can absolutely find gratitude in our own difficult spaces.
Now, that being said, we do have to be empathetic to ourselves here. Because, as an old African proverb says, gratitude is actually extremely unnatural for human beings. You'll find it about as often as water running uphill. We are totally conditioned to wait for external circumstances to change in our favor before we ever allow ourselves to feel internally grateful. So, finding gratitude before the victory or before the healing is literally like trying to turn a battleship around. It requires immense conscious effort.
Which brings us to Section 3, the discipline of gratitude and making it a daily practice.
Now, what's really interesting about this dynamic is how success is actually grown. Look at the relationship between discipline and gratitude. Discipline is the soil. It's that daily decision to wake up early, to do the work when your motivation has completely dried up. But discipline alone isn't enough, is it? Gratitude is the water, and most people completely miss this part. Without gratitude watering your discipline, your daily grind is just going to make you bitter and resentful. Gratitude is what makes that hard work fertile. It ensures that every single failure becomes fuel rather than just an excuse to quit.
And think about this simple little piece of wordplay. Gratuity comes from gratitude, When you go to a restaurant and leave a gratuity, you're leaving a tip to acknowledge the good service you got, right? Well, practicing gratitude is essentially leaving a tip for the universe. You are actively acknowledging the blessings you already have. And the general rule of thumb here is that the universe loves gratitude. The more you acknowledge the good, the more abundance you attract right back into your life.
All right, section 4, shifting your perspective by changing your words.
It really all starts with your vocabulary. Take the phrase, I got to. I gotta go to work. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta deal with the kids. When you use those words, you're taking all your opportunities and just wrapping them up in heavy stress. But if you change just one single word to I get to, everything changes. I get to go to work. I get to wake up. I get to move my body. Instantly, you strip that stress away and reveal the blessing that was hiding underneath the whole time. It shifts you from playing prevent defense in your life to playing offense. And hey, if you ever struggle to make that I get to shift, just remember this number, 150,000. Roughly 150,000 people in the world went to sleep last night and simply did not wake up this morning. But you did. You opened your eyes. You have air in your lungs. You have the ultimate privilege of existing for another day. To put that in perspective, before you even roll out of bed, you have already won the lottery of life for today. If you start from that baseline, gratitude becomes a whole lot easier to tap into.
Moving into our final part, Section 5, the Daily Gratitude Playbook and Daily Routines.
So the crucial point here is how you handle the absolute beginning of your day, which we call the morning shift. Most people wake up and honestly, within the first 6 seconds, they're already stressing about a bill they have to pay or an angry email. They start their day in a pure state of reaction and fear. To break this, you absolutely must take control of the first 6 minutes of your day. Before your feet even touch the floor, force your brain to find 10 things to be grateful for. And they don't have to be massive things. It could literally be the cozy bed you're in or the breath in your lungs. By doing this, you're aggressively setting the tone and taking back control of your focus.
And if you want to take it a step further, try this highly effective 10-minute brain priming routine. Step 1, radically change your physical state. Some folks use a cold water plunge or a cold shower to just force the brain into the present moment. Step 2, spend just 3 minutes focusing intensely on gratitude. The trick here is to visualize 2 big events and 1 very small event, like maybe a smile from your kid, so your brain really feels it chemically. And step 3 is just fantastic. Send a specific, sincere compliment to someone via text. Not just a generic, hey, you're awesome, but something very specific they did well. Doing this trains your brain to constantly be on the lookout for the good in the people around you.
Now, if you need hard proof that these routines actually work, consider this recent Harvard study. Students were asked to do a super simple exercise. Every Sunday night, just write down a list of 5 things they're most grateful for. Then take 5 minutes every night during the week to simply review that list. That's it. And after just 10 weeks of this incredibly simple practice, those students were measured to be 15 to 25% happier. I mean, that is a massive return on investment for just a few minutes of your time.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative question. If you only get what you are grateful for today, what will you have tomorrow? Think about it. If the universe truly operates by multiplying what we appreciate, then taking things for granted means they'll eventually just be taken away. So don't wait for your life to be absolutely perfect to start being thankful. Plant the discipline today, water it with genuine gratitude, and just watch what blooms. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and I challenge you to start finding those 10 things tomorrow morning before your feet even hit the floor.